Hello and welcome to Who's On Next, the podcast where I don't have to come up with the slogan every week, so quit hounding me because it hurts my feelings. Today I have a guest known for her work on shows such as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as Trish, the Cardinal in Sword Art Alicization, and Senpai in Magical Sempai. It is Lizzie Freeman.
Hello.
And how are you doing today?
Doing well, staying inside, living.
So I'm assuming you haven't gone out and gone to the protests or do anything like of that nature.
I've tried to be an internet vigilante.
Internet vigilante. That sounds awesome. A vigilante.
Right? Is that the right term? I don't even know.
I don't know. I'd have to look up what vigilante means. I think that's someone who takes the law into their own hands.
Yeah.
I don't know. You propose it. I have to Google it now because I just want to know. Member of a self-appointed group of citizens who undertake law enforcement without legal authority. So yeah.
Yes.
So it is a vigilante.
Then yes, that is the right word.
The voice acting vigilante.
Yeah.
All right. So first question: what is it that got you interested in voiceover?
Well, I was one of those people that never really grew out of liking cartoons. Like, by the time I was in high school, most kids kind of moved on from cartoons. But I was like, no, I still like them. I still watch SpongeBob. I'll still watch Powerpuff Girls on demand, you know? And it was somewhere in middle school where I kind of first became interested in acting. I did, like, this play in middle school, and then high school we did the musical Les Miserables.
Wow.
I didn't play a big part in it. I was just in the chorus, but that was like my first taste of, oh my god, I love acting. It's so fun. And then one day it kind of occurred to me, like, hey, wait a minute, the voices in cartoons are actors. Hold up, that's cool shit. I'm like, that's like my two loves married into the perfect career for me because A, I get to act, B, voice actors still get to live a fairly normal life, and C, I get to be in cartoons. So, that's kind of how that happened.
Like, was that ever something that you had picked up on as a kid? Like, had you ever really attached names to the actors, or was that something that came later? Because I mean, I assume you didn't want to become a voice actor at the start of your life as a kid.
Yeah, as a kid, I never thought about that. I would say the standard things like, I want to be a nurse because I want to help people, not realizing how hard that is, and how much it doesn't, click with my kind of personality. And then by early middle school, like 5th, 6th grade or so, I thought I wanted to be an animator. Until, again, I quickly realized, oh my god, that's a lot of work. And I love drawing that much.
I assume you didn't want to deal with the tediousness of frame by frame or, I don't know, things of that nature, because, oh my god.
Yeah, it's like I loved drawing back in the day, but not that much.
I am blown away by that level of dedication.
Not for that. I mean, I have dedication for some things, but art is drawing is not one of them.
I think it was for me because as a kid, my family can attest to this. I was always memorizing names in animated properties.
Yeah.
Because that was just something I always thought, I just like picking out names in cartoons. Because, this guy did a lot of stuff that I watch. Or this stuff, I could memorize that.
Well, I think for me, as a kid, I started to recognize voices in different shows. I'd be like, oh, that's Lil from Rugrats in this other show,
Yeah, I think the first one for me was Tom Kenny. I want to say.
Yeah.
It was either him or Kevin Michael Richardson, because they were in so much. And I just started picking up on voices I would hear all the time. So that was another thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, God, D. Baker, Tom, Richard Horvitz, Kevin Michael Richardson, like I said, because they were in everything. And they're still in everything. You hear them constantly.
Yeah.
Now, I guess another question is because you started out as an internet voice actor and you've since moved on in the past couple of years to California, and I was just wondering, so like, what is the transition like from going from internet voiceover to doing much more professional work?
Well, this step is a little difficult right now, but the big thing is, well, actually, no, I'm jumping the gun here. Sorry. The first thing you have to do is get the proper training. Find a reliable coach who it's hard to define what's a reliable coach. Someone who's like currently working a lot in the industry is usually your best bet. Because there's a lot of, I got scammed when I was in college by this company that's like, yeah, we'll help you become a voice actor, but then their coaches
Oh,
didn't actually have like good resumes and stuff. So just be careful of that, of these like package programs. They're usually not very legit.
yeah, I know Bob Bergen and Kylie Bear are two big
Bob Bergen
ones.
is excellent. But yeah, find a reputable coach, get acting lessons any way you can. I started in theater, as I said, and it helped a lot with my foundations for my craft. And then after get your skills kind of sharpened and polished, start to get your marketing tools together, a website, work on demos only pay for those demos after you are well trained and you have the person that you trust who's been coaching you give you that okay to move forward with getting quality demos produced. If you're just doing online things and hobby things, it's okay to make a demo for that stuff, but I'm talking about paying like the $1,000 to get your demo. Make sure you're perfectly ready to be competitive. I can't talk. I do that for a living. I talk. To be competitive with professionals before you get your expensive demos produced. Please don't make the mistake I did. And then after you have all that together, move where the work is. And that's where I was going with. That's a little difficult right now because of pandemic, but move where the work is. Vancouver, Toronto, Los Angeles is the biggest hub, obviously, and also Texas.
I know New York is another big one because that's where all the Pokemon stuff is done right now.
Yeah. I mean, if you notice, though, the new Pokemon show just came out on Netflix, and a lot of the people that are in it are here in LA. There's a bit of a transition going on, it looks like.
Yeah, because Michael Sinter Nicholas, I know, has a company, I think NYAV, NVAY, but he does like a lot of collaborations with New York and LA people.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. Like I think it's so cool that they're still finding ways to get the New York people work in big LA projects.
Yeah, it's really cool. Oh gosh, and sorry, more of the transition. Am I missing anything? After you move here, there, wherever the work is, for LA and New York, there's a really helpful website called the Voiceover Resource Guide.com. And it kind of has a list of all of the coaches, all of the agents, all of the studios. So you have all the resources you need right on that website to start marketing yourself, to start reaching out to people, emailing people. And I would highly suggest after moving to wherever it is where you want to, start your career, start taking local classes there with groups of people, because that's A, you're going to learn a lot of valuable information, and B, it's an excellent place to meet people, make friends in the industry, and connect and just feel part of the community.
So what was it like, I guess, when you moved to California? Was it an easy transition to start doing more professional work, or was it more complicated?
It was pretty difficult. I first moved to a place called Van Nuys, which is not very nice. Pretty sure I witnessed a drug deal at
Oh,
some
God.
point. My car window got smashed in,
Oh,
but
my
I had to,
God.
I lived there because it was the cheap, quote unquote, cheap rent there. I was in a 1-bedroom apartment. It cost $1,200 a month for this crummy little apartment in Van Nuys, California. And I had to scramble. Like for 3 months, I could not find a job that actually could cover my bills. It was very difficult. And I moved here with only $5,000 to
Oh
my
my
name,
God.
which is like that's a good amount of money. I'm like, no, not when you're paying $1,200 rent. And I was near the end of that money by the time I finally found a job that could actually cover what I needed. And it was a full-time job. I got very lucky. I found something where I could work from home. And I realized I was extremely privileged and extremely fortunate to have found that job. Um, but it's just hard to get established here. You have to be prepared for the first year to really suck. um yeah. Eventually, after a couple years in Van Nuys, I moved to Burbank and things have been better, but yeah.
Yeah, because I remember one of my teachers back in high school talked about someone they knew who worked on Broadway who had to have two jobs.
Right.
Like, and it's crazy to me that they had to get two jobs at Broadway did not pay that well.
New York is even more expensive than here from what I understand.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy to think that like a Broadway or a big acting job and you still have to work like two jobs just to compensate to live in the location for even like a couple months.
Believe it.
Like it's just crazy to me that you have to do that much commitment.
Gosh, I would just say like save up as much money as you can, before you come here. I would say at least because don't do what I did. Have at least maybe $10,000 before you come here because you're gonna need it. Unless you have a job guaranteed before you move here, have that money because it's so hard to get established. And kind of gonna have to humble yourself and probably have to have a roommate, maybe even share a room. I'm lucky I didn't have to do that, but it's rough.
So I guess with another question that I was interested in bringing up is that you've gotten a lot of franchise work over the past few years. Like, I guess not major franchise work, but you've gotten work on shows like Sword Art and JoJo and just some very, very well-known things. So I was just wondering, like, were you ever like a fan of those things when you auditioned, or was it more like you learned more about it when you got the job? Because I've known people where they were fans or they just knew nothing about it at all.
Okay, people are gonna hate me. I didn't know too much about either of them. I probably knew a little bit more about Sword Art, having actually watched a few episodes before I auditioned for it. Um, I don't want to say they fell into my laps because I did audition for them. But yeah, I got the auditions for them, did the research I needed to for the characters, watched some clips for them, and I've learned a lot more about both of those franchises since, especially JoJo. The community made sure to inform me about a lot of things and the memes.
Well, I remember I auditioned a few years ago for a fan dubbing project for a video game for Fire Emblem, and yeah. So I remember someone messaged me on Twitter and was like, "You don't know anything about the franchise because you never played the game, so you're not right for this character that you're getting."
Please don't be gatekeepers.
And that's the thing, because I'm like, I don't understand the mindset of that. I don't. It's like someone doesn't have to be a fan to want a role.
Your job is to act, not to know every single thing about every single thing you work on.
Like, that's the thing. I think it's cool when there are voice actors that know a lot about the franchises that they're involved in when they audition for things. But
Goodness.
I just can't understand the mindset of, well, you have to know everything about the franchise or you can't get this work.
That's like asking a McDonald's employee to talk, to list the entire history of McDonald's.
Come to work after memorizing the entire history of a Hardee's and
Goodness.
maybe I'll consider you for the job.
And you just have to remember some of these actors are working on multiple different properties every single week. There's no feasible way many of them can keep. Like, yes, it's cool when actors are like, yes, I am very passionate about this particular thing I work on. And it does happen, but you can't expect that for every single thing.
It's funny, actually, speaking of franchise work, I saw that you were Sabrina in Pokemon Masters. And I was wondering, like, was that actually, I assume, was Pokemon like a big franchise for you as a kid?
Oh, totally. I loved Pokemon. I played Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, all those old N64 games. I never had a handheld growing up, so I didn't play any of the mainline games until recently, but I've always loved Pokemon. Watched the anime, all of that stuff. I'm even actually wearing a Pikachu shirt right now. So when I found out I got cast in that, I actually cried a little bit because I loved Pokemon
Oh.
so much my entire life.
Was Sabrina like ever one of your favorites, or was that just a case of it was just whoever you auditioned for at the time?
Uh, yeah, Sabrina. Well, actually, for this game, I think there's just so many characters. A lot of the time, they'll take people from the pool of talent and be like, oh, we know that they can play this kind of character. So I was auto cast as Sabrina.
Oh, I think that's so cool when a company is so comfortable with working with an actor that they essentially have like gotten it down to a point where they're like, "Oh, this person would be perfect for this role. Let's give it to them."
Yeah, it was probably a case of them either listening to something I did at the studio before or my demo and thinking she'd be good for Sabrina.
So, there's actually something about I was on your website because I was doing information for this interview a few days ago, and there was something I noticed that I thought was really, really cool. So I was looking at your resume, and I saw that you were a Disney performer for a few years.
I was.
Oh, that's so cool. So what was that like doing that for a few years?
Very hot. Um, well, okay. I started at Disney World. I did the Disney College program, my second year of university, I want to say. And that was at Disney World. I was there for about 3 months. And then when I was done with it and I went back to school and realized I hated, school, and that I was working towards something I didn't want, I'm like, heck it, I'm going to go audition for Disneyland.
It's like a cartoon, like, I'm tired of education, I'm gonna go work at Disney.
So I dropped out of school and went to be Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. Um,
Oh, so you were actually in the suit.
yes, no, I was quote unquote friends with Mickey Mouse and a bunch of the other kind of short characters. Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Stitch. I loved Stitch. He was fun. Panchito, Jose. At Disney World, I was there when Wreck-It Ralph came out, so I got to be one of the first Vanellope's.
Oh, so like right when the movie had come out?
Yes. For Vanellope in particular, since the movie was brand new, they took a few of us that were quote unquote mice height, and they had us do a little class to learn about her because she would be out before the movie came out, so we could perform her properly.
So how did it work? Because I know there were like different heights that like people had to be, and like were you there the whole time, or would you like cycle out or something like that with like another person?
There are different height brackets. There's usually a couple, friends helping. So I would be out for half an hour and then I would go back inside for half an hour to cool down while my buddy would go out for the time I was cooling down. That's how that worked. I'm sorry, I feel like I still have to use code.
I also know that there's this thing where, like I said, there's height brackets. There's a lot of specifications that I know about because I know there's the height chart where like a lot of the performers have to be specific heights. There's the one of the big things is that I think they have to teach you how to sign a signature as the character like perfectly. Like you have to perfectly sign like how Disney thinks the character would sign a piece of paper or autograph something.
I bet I could still do most of them, honestly. um, Yeah, no, they would have us practice the signatures. They were like, you know how in kindergarten where you'd have the big lined paper with the A and then the space next to it. Kind of like that, except it would have the whole signature on the lines above it, and then you would practice copying it below it. Um, and like they did for certain, like the bigger characters, they would have a whole breakdown of the alphabet in case you wanted to do personalized messages to some people.
What, like individual letters?
So like, yeah, I still have the Mickey Mouse one somewhere where it breaks down the entire alphabet in his handwriting.
So was it like a single sheet of paper with like all the letters, or was it like a multi-page packet of information about how to do it?
Every character has a packet. Their bio, their appropriate poses to take pictures as, appropriate poses for pictures, how to interact with guests, just vital information you may need to help perform the character.
That just blows my mind. Just the level of dedication that people have to be in those hot costumes and hanging out with like so many people. Like I respect that ridiculous level of dedication that all those performers have.
I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I like to think I would stay in character too. Like sometimes I'd come off set and be like, oh, my cheeks are sore because I was smiling the whole time. It's fun.
So what did they do about heating? Because I know, I think sometimes they were either like a ventilated suit or there was like ice packs or water that they would have.
At the most, we would maybe have ice packs that we could put in a vest, and that was it. And I never used those because they would melt and just make it heavier. It's just the way they do is they just keep you on for as long as they can without making you get heat stroke. And depending if the temperature got hotter, the times would be shorter.
So was there ever like a gesture, like a signal someone would give? Like if someone was really like dying of heat stroke or something was happening like while they were in the suit?
Yeah, there's a signal for that. I never had to use it, thank God.
So actually, back on voice acting, this is a question I love asking voice actors because I've heard very interesting stories. What is a role that you wish you had gotten or a role that you got really close to getting?
Well, I never know how close I get to a role, so I don't know about that. This question, I'm not sure how much I can disclose. So I think I would rather plead the fifth so I don't get myself in any possible trouble.
Because I guess I don't 100% know how it works with anime, because I don't know if callbacks are as common.
I mean, I guess I can talk about, this isn't exactly answering your question, but it's also a fun thing. In regards to Trish for JoJo, when I auditioned for her, it was, the summer of last year. Initially, I auditioned for her then, and I thought right away, oh, I'm not going to get this. Because up until recently, I thought my niche and what I would constantly book would be the young kids and the baby kind of characters. So when I saw Trish, I was like, oh, that's not going to happen. But I read for it, and then about a month and a half later, they sent out auditions again. And from what I heard is the first pass, they didn't find what they needed. And then the second pass, they sent it out to basically almost all the female talent that time around. And my audition in particular, the callback one, they said, okay, here are just some notes. They want to hear you try in your read again. And that, I didn't hear back for like another 2 months. And that's pretty, by that point, you would just assume you didn't get it. Even after a couple weeks, usually that means you didn't get it. So when I got an email saying, casting, JoJo, I figured, oh, I guess I got some bit part in here that I'm going to be playing. Then I open the email and it says, congrats, you're Trish. And I'm like, what? I actually could not believe it said Trish. I really thought when I was opening that email, it was going to say, hey, we're going to have you play some incidentals or something. No. So I was gobsmacked.
Yeah, because I've always known anime is primarily solo, if I remember correctly. Like they very, if almost ever, really get like a group of people or even like more than two people in a room together to record.
Yeah, I don't think anime could work in a group.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if games work the same way because I feel like I've seen inconsistent things with games.
In my experience so far, I've only recorded by myself for games, but I'm sure, I mean, for mocap, obviously, you would be with the other actors, but for other things, I'm not entirely sure how that would work.
I remember of all things, I had the Billy and Mandy video game on a GameCube as a kid. And I remember there was a bonus feature DVD. And I feel like I remember they had at least two people for a couple recording sessions when they showed footage.
They might have, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, because I feel some games I've seen footage where it's just one person, but I feel like I've also seen times where I've seen recording sessions for games where they've had more than one person in a room, at least two or three. So again, I don't really know. Maybe it depends on the budget of the game.
Or just the logistics of everything. It differs from thing to thing.
Because I remember there was the voice actors strike, which I think was like 3 or 4 years ago, and they were asking for. I remember it was not like big sessions for video games, but I think one of them was residuals.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember the other two.
Residuals, actor safety, and having more disclosure about the project in question.
Yeah, because I remember watching an interview with like Kari Walgren, and someone asked her about I think it was Kid Icarus Uprising or something, and I remember she had said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I think that might have been one of those games where we weren't allowed to know what it was." I can't believe that was just a regular thing.
It still kind of is.
That's so weird to me that there's just this anonymity to auditioning for something. Like, I remember Steve Bloom auditioned for something and he didn't know what it was, and he found out later and he felt very uncomfortable with what it was.
Oh no.
I think it ended up being like a raunchy game or something like that. I don't remember what it was. I just remember he had like walked out of the project because he found out what it was while reading. Like, again, I just can't believe there's just anonymity about a project for the actors.
Yeah.
So actually, another thing. So when I was on your website, I discovered your animal demo reel.
Oh no. Yeah.
Have you actually gotten any work doing that kind of stuff?
Yes, actually. Let me go grab it. 1 second. I'll be 2 seconds. Okay, sorry. Yes, I got to play a toy.
Oh my god. What was it?
They're called, you can still find them at most Targets, I think. They're called Lil Gleamer Babies. I just play the baby one. And here. That's me.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. That was a thing I did.
I remember interviewing Tara Sands, and she told me a story about like a Bulbasaur plush she saw in the UK that she does not remember recording for.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember she had said like, oh, it just sounded like they took audio from the show or something.
Yeah, sometimes they do that, or I heard some video games that use characters from, already recorded dialogue also do that. Yeah, it's a thing.
It's so cool to be able to do like a creature noises for like a toy of all things. And did you ever get to do any other like creature noise stuff, or is that about it?
There was another one, but it was also a toy, but it ended up getting canceled. So I can't talk too much about it, unfortunately. But that was the first thing I did, and me working on that toy is what led to that casting director bringing me in for this toy. He's like, we know you did a good job with that thing, so we think you would be great for this. So
how does that work with toys exactly? Like, do you get residuals, or like, I don't know. I've never really known how the toy voiceover works.
My experience, no. We usually get a buyout.
Yeah, with toy stuff, I've never really known because I don't really hear a lot of people talk about voiceover in the toy industry. So I've never really known if there was such a thing as residuals or things of that nature.
Yeah, I'm sure if somehow toys ended up being like toy work, I don't know if it could be unionized. I'm sure there would be residuals in the talk, but nope. Just a nice buyout.
Well, I remember the woman who was the voice of Barbie in like the 80s and I think the mid 90s, she did like nothing else. That's like her entire job.
Oh, wow.
For years.
That's
And
crazy.
I can't imagine doing that and that being your only job. But then again, I can imagine like Mattel or Hasbro money would be really good money.
See, that's a character I would love to play. Someone from Barbie. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, I used to actually, one of the only toys I remember playing with was a kid was my sister's Barbies with them.
Yes.
Well, I think it was as a kid, I never really cared. I was just like, hey, it looks fun. I want to play with that. So it was like, I don't know, there was just never really much of a, oh, that's a girly toy. I don't want to play with that. I was like, no, that's just a toy.
They were fun. I don't blame you.
I think it was just as a kid. I didn't even play with toys that often as a kid. Because it was just something where, I don't know, I just never showed much interest. I had like a big bin of toys. It was like little Digimon plastic toys and NASCARs and little Power Rangers figures, and I just never played with them. It was the same with Legos. I had them. I just never showed much interest. Like, toys were never really my big thing. Which is funny because now, as an adult, I'm way more interested in toys than I was as a kid. Like, have you seen that that Netflix documentary series? Was it The Toys That Made Us?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so cool. It's like they talk about like the history of the toy, and they interview like the creators, and if it was like a toy that got turned into a TV franchise, they interview some of the voice actors, and
That's so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I would love to be able to work on more toys soon. That would be fun.
Actually, because you brought this up earlier, I think this would be an interesting question. What's a character like, or a franchise, I guess, you've always wanted to be involved with, or you wanted to play a character at some point?
Okay. I don't want to say either. I would want to play Princess Daisy in the Mario series.
Yes!
I would be happy with Peach or Rosalina or any of the girls, but I would want to be Daisy.
Well, yeah, because Daisy's like the best one.
She is the best one. What else? If Dexter's Lab ever got a reboot and for whatever reason Candy DeMilo couldn't come back to the role, I would love to play Dexter.
Ooh, what would your version of Dexter sound like? I'm actually really curious.
Didi, you're so stupid.
Yeah.
What are you doing, woman? I think it would be fun.
I don't know, like what's another one you can think of? Like any like big like media franchises?
Ooh, I heard Tokyo Mew Mew's gonna get a reboot. So I would love to be in that show. That'd be fun. Who would I want to play in it? Maybe Pudding, or I'd be happy with any of them. That'd be fun.
I think it'd be cool because I hear that and I'm like, I mean, that was a 4Kids dub, I think. So you could.
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, you could bring back some of the original cast if it was NYAV. So I don't know. I think it'd be cool to have some reprisals as well as like new people playing characters. I don't know. I think that'd be really cool.
Gosh, or like if they ever actually properly dub Mermaid Melody, I would be behind that.
I do not actually know that.
Yeah, it's a magical girl thing about mermaids that turn into pop stars, basically.
Why did I know that's what it was going to be?
It's great.
Why did I heard the title and thought immediately that's what it was going to be. This has a very mid-2000s aesthetic.
Yeah. I'd want to be Hanon.
Yeah, because I think the big ones for me are Transformers, Star Wars, and Looney Tunes. Those are really big ones. Oh, and a Marvel thing. A Marvel thing would be really cool.
Looney Tunes. Yeah.
I think Transformers is probably the biggest one to me because Transformers has always been like, well, because I said I didn't play with toys. Transformers was like the one thing where I'm like, no, I'd play with them, because I was really into puzzles as a kid, and Transformers were basically like toy versions of puzzles, so it was kind of like perfectly up my alley. That, and I love the cartoons a lot.
Oh, speaking of Transformers, because Hasbro, My Little Pony would be a big one. I was a brony. I am ashamed to admit, but I was. So that would be fun.
Yeah, but I think I remember. Yeah, you did do like a few animations like years ago or something.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way. Pretty much like anything prior to like 2015, I'm like, I don't want to bring that up ever again.
Yeah, no, same.
There's just a lot of stuff from back then where I'm just like, I just don't like looking back on it because of my acting abilities.
Oh, man.
But I gotta say, thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
Is there anything you want to promote at all?
You can follow me on Twitter at Lizzie R. Freeman. I'm also on Facebook. I believe it's a Lizzie Freeman voice actress. And Instagram, that one I can't remember off my head. Blah.
Maybe Lizzie Freeman, I don't know.
I think there's Lizzie Freeman's kind of a common name, unfortunately. It is Lizzie_Freeman_VA.
All right. And again, I got to say, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.